you hear that? This right here is the sound that makes you want to move. Creating this groove isn't just magic, it's a science. The science of being funky. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the secret formula to crafting killer funk grooves from scratch. So grab your instruments, get comfortable, and let's make some magic. There are 3 essential elements that you will find in almost every single funk groove. And by understanding them, you'll be able to apply them to your own songs. Element number 1 is a tight rhythm. A tight rhythm will serve as the backbone of your song, and if it's good, it'll be physically impossible for the listener not to bop their head to it. To illustrate this point, let's start by laying down a super simple drum beat. So this beat gives us a great starting point, and from here, we can add some simple bass notes to accentuate a rhythm. So these bass notes have established a rhythm, but you might have noticed it isn't funky, and that's because it's missing element number 2, which is syncopation. By just adding a few simple octaves and hammer-ons, we can add syncopation to our bass line, which will instantly transform this boring rhythm into a truly funky one. Now, watch what happens when we adjust our drum beat to better match that syncopated bass line. This groove is already killer, but now we need to add more instruments to fill it out. And these additional instruments need to bring in element number 3, which is the use of space. A lot of people seem to think that funk is all about playing as many notes as possible, when in reality, that would absolutely sound like crap. Would you shut up? Funk uses space to create and complement the groove like this. By playing the guitar in a choppy and staccato way, we leave space between our licks, which really enhances the groove. Now, it's worth noting that the space doesn't need to be super drawn out. It can be a relatively busy lick with spaces thrown in to mix it up. So those are the 3 elements of funk grooves: tight rhythms, syncopation, and the use of space. And now that we understand these elements and how they work together, let's record ourselves a killer funk groove from scratch. Like we did before, to start off, I recommend laying down a simple drum beat as a placeholder, so we have something to work against when we create our bass line. Then, once we have our bass line, we can go back and adjust the drum beat to complement it. Generally speaking, funky music uses drums that were recorded in a small, tight room. These small rooms limit natural reverb and reflections, giving us a punchy, dry, and crisp quality to the drums. This makes the drums sound much, much tighter, as opposed to a big, bright room, which makes the drums sound bigger and more wild. Here's a quick comparison so you can hear the difference. As you can see, drums recorded in a small, tight room will help make the intricate patterns and syncopation stand out in a clear and distinct way. They sound very controlled and focused, and they don't take up a ton of room sonically. For this beat, I'll be using Easy Drummer 3, and I'm going to use the 70s rock muffled preset. And with our click set to 190 beats per minute, let's lay down a simple drum beat. Now we're going to take that drum beat and start playing around on the bass to create a simple rhythm consisting only of root notes. For the tone, I'm going to be using Plugin Alliance's amp sim of the B15N, and I'm going to use the solid bass no horn preset. Okay, so that's our rhythm right there. Now from here, we can add some syncopation to spice it up, all while maintaining the same rhythm. Remember, a great funk bass line is repetitive, but not boring. It's rhythmic, but also melodic. And most importantly, it's strong. Again, we're going to use simple octaves, scales, and hammer-ons to build upon what we just made. Let's do it. That bass line feels great, and it works very well. And now that we have it, we're going to go back to our drum beat and play something that complements the bass better. This is key because the more in step and together the bass and drums are, the tighter the rhythm is. And like we established earlier, a tight rhythm with syncopation are two of the three essential elements of a great funk groove. Funky drum beats are generally very danceable. They mostly utilize the kick, snare, and hi-hat, and they often use short open hi-hats as accents throughout the beat. Considering all of these things, let's level up our drum beat. When creating a funky groove, the guitar often plays more of a rhythmic role rather than a melodic one. This can be accomplished by using staccato strumming patterns consisting of short, choppy chord hits and scratching, which is when you strum the muted strings in a rhythm that complements the beat. I also recommend playing these guitar parts using primarily the first, second, and third strings, as higher chords have a tendency to punch through the mix better. For these guitar parts, I'm going to be using my Fender Stratocaster with the single coil pickups, paired with the Mesa Boogie 2's amp sim. And we're going to use the Dad Blues In It preset. Now, from creating our bass line, we know that the chords of this groove are A major, C sharp minor, F sharp minor, and then E major. But instead of just playing those as simple, boring chords, let's work to add some unique rhythms to make it even more funky. Are you bopping your head? You better be, because this groove is on point. So we already have a great funk groove, and it works perfectly as it is. But we can add additional instrumentation to fill it out even more. Let's add some synths and keyboard passages to finish this groove off. In this case, I've identified a couple of spots where I want to accentuate the bass and guitar parts. There's this part, and then there's this part. By accentuating these parts with a synth, we're tightening up our groove even more. And by not playing anything outside of those accents, we're leaving space, which is great. I'm thinking an Eastern sounding plucked synth would work perfect for this, so let's try to find one in the stock Logic library. Alright, it would seem that the noisy plucked synth is our winner. While we're at it, I also want to add in some electric piano. Contrary to the other instrumentation, this is going to be incredibly simple, and I'm only going to play these root chords that we established earlier. This will thicken everything up and make our root chords stand out a bit more, which again will tighten up the rhythm of our groove. Anyways, I think an electronic piano straight out of the 1980s would sound fantastic. So let's see if Logic has one. All right, Wide Suitcase is sounding great. Let's go ahead and lay down these keyboards. check it out with some vocals.
Sabotage. Always caught between what I want and what I need. Always seem to be making choices wrong for me. Sabotage. I am just a fiend, 'cause I act before I think. Sabotage. I got no restraint and I think I'm about to faint.
Now, I know what you're thinking. After watching this, you're probably wondering, can autotune make a bad singer sound good? Well, I was wondering the exact same thing until I took a singer with absolutely no experience and tried to make them sound like a professional. Do you think it worked? Well, you can find out in this video right here. And with that, this has been Songs by Spencer, signing out.